back today. We're going to have the most fun we can have without burning police cars. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Neil.
Hey, Bubbleman.
Well, it's a beautiful day. Glad you're all here.
Bubbleman with the camel hat there.
Something. Come on, everybody. It's nice to see everybody having something to smoke today. Now, out there in the world, there's a lot of people still that are fighting against prohibition, and that would even include cops, oddly enough. Well, maybe not so odd. I don't think it is, but a lot of police officers and people involved in law enforcement have come out over the past few years, put together a group and are standing together against the idiocy of prohibition. That organization is called Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. We have a gentleman that's going to speak to us next to tell us a little bit more about that. And I'm going to venture that this is Steve Finley. But he might be the only guy here in a suit. I looked around hard. So, I give you a man in a suit. A man in a suit.
Freedom.
Thank you very much. It is an extreme honor to be asked to talk to you because there is a cannabis culture, obviously. And the cannabis culture and the people like Neil and Mark and Dana and Greg and Michelle and all these other people have done amazing things to wake up the world and to change people's attitudes and to change people's knowledge and to change people's understanding.
Sorry,
and
I'm
to make
shaky.
the world a better place.
Really
And it's wonderful what everyone has done. Thank you so much to everybody. And I can say that because myself, I am not in that culture at all. I'm not in cannabis culture at all. I'm here to speak for and to speak to the people like me, the people who don't hardly ever smoke cannabis, the people who work on the boards of the youth orchestra because their kids are in it, the people who go to work 9 to 5 doing boring shit, the people who show up on a beautiful summer day wearing a dark blue suit and a button-down Oxford cloth shirt and my grandfather's tie.
Awesome.
That is the kind of people I'm speaking for and speaking to, and that is important because in order to end this horrible, destructive, I will honestly say this murderous policy of prohibition, we need to communicate with the people like me, not just the people here. And I can talk to you about how you will communicate to those people, because most of them can be communicated with. A few of us have ears, a few of us will figure things out. And even those of us who don't have very good ears, if you communicate clearly and accurately and point on the right things, we will actually figure it out. I did.
There's Bubbleman right there, about to take a dab.
Bit about
Oh yeah.
the people like
Bubbleman,
me who aren't
dude.
in the cannabis culture.
Just chilling.
Now Neil said some very important stuff. If the only problem were that prohibition was preventing us from getting the benefits of cannabis, that would be bad. But it's worse than that. It's way worse than that, and it's way worse than that for the reasons Neil talked about. It's way worse than that because of the effect on freedom. And that is what
There's
you need to
Enrico from
talk about when you're
Sublimators
talking
over there,
to the
the
people who aren't
Sublimator
in the
himself.
cannabis culture. There are only two things they need to understand. Only two things they need to understand. And only two consequences they need to understand from those two things. All right. First thing they need to understand. It does not matter whether they believe cannabis is great for medicinal and other purposes. It does not even matter whether they think it is dangerous. That doesn't matter. All they have to understand is even if they think it is dangerous, which is what I thought till I was 35, all they need to know is that there are some people who like to use it. Is that true? Can they look out here and can they say, no, nobody's interested? I don't think so. The first thing is get them to understand there are people who want to use it. Regardless of their opinion of how dangerous, there are people who want to use it. There are people who want to drink Jack Daniel's bourbon straight, right? I wouldn't dare. Many of us wouldn't. But there are people who want to use cannabis. That's the first thing. Now here's the second thing they have to understand. Listen carefully. When there are people who want to use cannabis or anything, there will be people who make money by providing it, and prohibition will never stop it. I'll say it again. As long as there are people who want to use something, there are people who will make money by providing it, and no form of prohibition can ever stop it. If they don't believe you, ask them this.
Tell me more.
Yes. Think about the United States. The United States, does anyone know who imprisons more citizens than any other country in the world? The United States. By a monstrous margin, the United States has the largest prison system in the world. It is also one of the most efficiently run prison systems in the world. Escapes are very rare. The U.S. has a very large, very efficient prison system that keeps people in fairly effectively. All right, here's the skill testing question.
Works.
How many drug-free prisons are there in the United States? 0. Not one. So if anybody doubts you that there will always be people selling stuff that people want, point them to the U.S. prison system. Not even in prison can they keep the drug business out of business. It is always in business. That is what you got to start with. Now, here are the two consequences. So I told you the two facts that people like me have to understand. One is that there's always some people who want cannabis. The other is that there will always be somebody making money supplying it. Get those 2 points across. And I really don't think there's any way they can deny those things are true. Now here are the consequences. 1, if you make something illegal, that all the money in that business goes to criminals. All that prohibition does, it does not stop the business, it gives all the money to criminals. That's the first thing prohibition does. Second consequence, the business is operated with violence, murder, and crime. That is what prohibition does. The only consequences of prohibition, the problem is not less drugs. That's what people think. The people like me think prohibition means less drugs. It doesn't. All that prohibition means is that the people running the business are criminals, and they run it with beatings, murder, arson, and crime. That is all the consequences of prohibition. Rich criminals, lots of crime. So, here's the finish after those two consequences. And here's where I talk to the people like me. Every politician who maintains prohibition supports gangsters. Every politician who maintains prohibition creates crime. I'll say it again. Every politician who supports prohibition supports gangsters. Every politician who supports prohibition creates crime. Now, all you people out there like me, all you people who believe prohibition, who still believe prohibition is a good thing, which I believed till I was nearly 40. All of you who believe prohibition is a good thing. Next thing I'm going to say, you're going to think I'm not just wrong, but insane. That's what I would have said 20 years ago. But if you work on this, if you look at the real information, if you look at what really happens, sooner or later you will wake up and you will know that what I'm about to say is absolutely true. And this is it. If you want less crime, If you want gangsters to be weakened and out of business, if you want better control over who can access drugs, if you want less drugs in school, less drugs available to children, if you want all those things, you must support legalization and regulation. There is no other way. None. So I'm going to finish with a quote from what Neil just said. As I said, I'm not in the cannabis culture, hardly ever smoked pot. Used to think it was horrible. But
That's what I wanted
I've been
you to see.
paying taxes
I'll
for
turn it back on
30
when Mark's
years.
talking.
I've been paying plenty.